How does a 4-year-old child in Boston know the exact location of a hidden metal box in Charleston, South Carolina, 1,200 miles away, that even the homeowner never knew existed? How does he recognize a stranger on the street as his brother from a previous life? And how does he describe 24 impossible details with 86% accuracy? This is the Ethan Parker case, and what happened next forced scientists to seal the evidence for 50 years. This really happened in 2018, and what came next will send chills down your spine. Today, I'm sharing one of the most documented reincarnation cases in modern history. A case that shocked researchers, provided over 20 impossible pieces of evidence, and remains sealed in university archives until the year 2075. Ethan Parker was born on March 15, 2014, in Boston, Massachusetts. A normal kid, normal parents, normal life. But when he turned 4 in 2018, everything changed. Because Ethan insisted he wasn't just Ethan. He said he had been Michael Sullivan, a man who died in a construction accident in Charleston, South Carolina, in 2012, exactly 2 years before Ethan was born. Here's the first detail that'll stop you cold. How could a 4-year-old child know that a man named Michael Sullivan really existed and really died in a workplace accident? When Ethan's parents, Rebecca and David Parker, first heard these claims, they dismissed them. Kids have active imaginations. But in the summer of 2018, things got strange. Ethan started talking about specifics. He said his wife's name was Sarah Sullivan, that he owned a hardware store in Charleston, that their house was on King Street with a blue door. He described the inside. Our bedroom is upstairs on the left. Sarah keeps her jewelry in the wooden box. Rebecca was unsettled. How could a 4-year-old invent such details, and why did he cry when he talked about the construction accident? Then came the moment that changed everything. One Saturday afternoon in October 2018, the Parker family was walking down Tremont Street in the South End neighborhood. Ethan suddenly stopped. Across the street, a man was loading tools into an old Ford pickup. He wore a faded blue t-shirt, worn jeans, and work boots. Ethan's whole body tensed, his eyes filled with tears. "James," he whispered. Then suddenly he broke free from Rebecca's hand and started running toward the street. "James! James!" Rebecca panicked and ran after him, but Ethan was faster. By the time the man turned around, Ethan was already in front of him, tears streaming down his face. "James, it's me. It's me." Ethan's voice was breaking. "Why don't you recognize me?" The man crouched down, confused. Hey, calm down, buddy. I don't know you." But Ethan threw himself into his arms, holding on tight with his small hands. "You're my brother, James Sullivan. You work at the hardware store, and I was Michael." James froze. The moment he heard that name, all the blood drained from his face. Rebecca reached them, breathless. "I'm so sorry. My son's been saying strange things lately." James grabbed Ethan's shoulders, trembling. How do you know about Michael?" Ethan wiped his tears, speaking with a maturity that didn't belong to a 4-year-old. "I know because I was Michael, your brother. I died at the construction site in Charleston in 2012. The scaffolding collapsed and I fell. You cried at the hospital. You held my hand." James's breath caught. He leaned against the wall beside his truck. No, this is impossible. Michael died 6 years ago. You're a 4-year-old kid." Ethan nodded. "I know, but I came back. I had to tell you something. I know about the secret." "What secret?" James's voice was a whisper. Ethan took a deep breath. "At the house in Charleston, in the basement, there are loose bricks in the back wall. Behind them I hid a gray metal box. You don't know about it. Sarah doesn't know either. Nobody knows. But it's there. Inside there's $3,500. Letters I wrote to Sarah, and a bandana with an American eagle and American flag on it. My bandana. I always carried it with me. James's knees trembled. That bandana. Michael's bandana that he took everywhere. They never found it after the accident. James had no idea about the box. He'd been to Michael's house dozens of times helping Sarah pack up. He'd never seen any box, but the pain in this child's eyes, the certainty in his voice. Something broke inside James. They exchanged phone numbers. That night, James couldn't sleep. At dawn, he called Sarah. "Sarah, did Michael ever mention hiding money in the house?" Sarah said no. James told her about the boy, the box, the basement. 2 hours later, Sarah called back, her voice shaking. "James, I found it. Behind the bricks in the basement, there's a gray metal box. When I opened it, James, there's $3,500 inside. Letters from Michael I never saw. And," her voice broke, "there's a bandana with an American eagle and flag on it. His bandana." James nearly dropped the phone. How could a 4-year-old in Boston know about a box hidden 1,200 miles away, a box even Sarah didn't know existed? They both thought the same thing. They had to meet this child again, because what Ethan knew was impossible. Unless he really was Michael. 3 days later, James came back. But this time he wasn't alone. With him was a 13-year-old boy, brown hair, green eyes. Daniel Sullivan, Michael's son. They sat in the Parkers' living room. The moment Ethan saw Daniel, he froze. His eyes filled with tears. He slowly approached and reached out his hand. "Daniel, my son, you've grown so much. You were just a baby the last time I saw you." Daniel pulled back, uncomfortable. "I'm not your son. My dad died." But there was hesitation in his voice. Looking at Ethan, something strange was happening inside him. A familiar warmth, a connection he couldn't explain. James pulled out his notebook. "Ethan, I'm going to ask you some questions. Things only Michael could know." Ethan nodded. James asked the first question, "Where is Sarah's birthmark?" "On her right shoulder. Small, brown. I always told her it was beautiful." James swallowed. It was true. What was Michael's favorite food? "Sarah's shrimp and grits. She made it every Sunday morning." True. "How many rooms are in the Charleston house?" 2 bedrooms upstairs, 1 guest room downstairs, a small gazebo in the backyard. James's hands trembled. Every answer was perfect. Then he asked the hardest question. "The night before the accident, what did Michael tell you?" Ethan's eyes welled up. "I told you, James, if anything happens to me, take care of Sarah and Daniel. You said, 'Don't be silly, nothing's going to happen.' But I felt it. Something was going to go wrong." James's chest tightened. That conversation had only happened between the two of them. That night at the construction site, speaking so quietly no one else could hear. How could a 4-year-old child know this? 2 weeks later, both families headed to Charleston. James was driving, Rebecca and Ethan in the back seat. The GPS was on, but Ethan knew the directions. Take the next exit, then turn left. Pass Main Street, 3rd Street on the right after the bridge. James looked at the GPS in amazement. Ethan's directions were perfect. As they entered Charleston, Ethan looked out the window. Everything's still the same. That coffee shop. I used to get Sarah coffee there every morning. That park over there. I'd take Daniel there. James swallowed. "Can you show us the house?" Ethan pointed. "That street. King Street. 3 blocks down on the right. Blue door. White shutters." Sarah was waiting at the door. 37 years old, brown hair, tired eyes. It had been 6 years since she lost her husband, but the pain was still visible in her eyes. The moment Ethan got out of the car, he stopped. He saw Sarah. For 2 seconds, they looked at each other. Then Ethan ran. He threw himself into Sarah's arms. "Sarah, I missed you. I missed you so much." Sarah's tears fell onto Ethan's hair. "Michael, Michael, is it really you?" When they went inside, Ethan knew every corner. "The kitchen is here. I used to sit by the window watching you. The bedroom upstairs. Your side was on the right, mine on the left." Sarah was trembling. "Go on." Ethan went out to the backyard. He stood under the old gazebo. "Sarah, can you look at the gazebo ceiling? I carved our initials in a heart up there. Remember?" Sarah looked up. On the wood, faded but still visible, a heart with MS Hearts, SS. Sarah's knees trembled. She had watched him carve those letters 10 years ago. On a summer evening as the sun was setting, then Ethan went to the old oak tree. "I buried something here. In 2010, our time capsule. Remember?" Sarah held her breath. "I remember, but I never dug it up." James brought a shovel. They dug. Half a meter down, a metal box emerged. Inside, a letter, a photograph, Sarah's hair clip. The letter was dated May 2010. It read, "We'll open this together in 10 years. I'll love you forever. Michael." The next day, Ethan said, "I want to go to my grandmother's house." James drove to Catherine Sullivan's house. The 85-year-old woman stood in the doorway. When she saw Ethan, her hand went to her mouth. "Michael, your face, your eyes, just like when you were a child." Ethan walked inside. "The kitchen still smells the same. Apple pie." "Did you always make it, Grandma?" Catherine cried. "Every week. For you." In the afternoon, they went to the cemetery. Ethan walked past the graves, never hesitating. He stopped in front of the simple headstone under the tree. "Michael Sullivan, 1982-2012. Love is eternal." Ethan knelt down. "I know this is just a body, but thank you. You waited for me. All of you waited for me." James knelt beside him. Ethan turned to him. "James, I don't need to forgive you because you weren't guilty to begin with. The accident was an accident. The scaffolding was old. You warned me. I didn't listen. Please forgive yourself." The 6-year burden inside James suddenly lifted. He cried, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." Ethan wrapped his small arms around James's neck. "Brother, I love you. I always loved you." Sarah placed a flower on the grave. "Michael, I missed you every day, but now I understand. You never left. You just came back in a different form." Ethan stood up. "You can rest in peace now. I'm here, and you need to know. Love is stronger than death." Daniel stood silently. Then he walked toward Ethan. Are you really my father?" Ethan smiled. "Our bodies are different, but my soul is the same. And I'll always love you, Daniel." Daniel hugged Ethan for the first time, and in that moment, everything was felt. Father and son. A bond that not even death could break. A week after the Charleston visit, both families gathered behind closed doors. James, Sarah, Rebecca, and David made a decision. This case must not leak out. "If the media finds out, Ethan's life will turn into hell," Rebecca said. "I don't want a 4-year-old child on TV, in newspapers." Sarah agreed. Michael's memory shouldn't be consumed by a sensational news story. This should stay between us. But they knew they needed to consult someone. James had been researching at Charleston Public Library when he found the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies. Dr. Jim Tucker, the world's leading expert on reincarnation cases. They reached out to him in secret. 2 weeks later, Dr. Tucker and 2 colleagues arrived in Boston. They told no one. Instead of a hotel, they stayed at Rebecca's sister's house. Everything was kept confidential. The first test was to separate Ethan from his family. They took him into a room and questioned him for hours. "What color suit did Michael wear on his wedding day?" "Navy. Blue." "Correct." How many steps are in the house staircase? 13 steps. Correct. Does James have a scar on his knee? Yes, on his left knee. Bicycle accident when he was a kid. Dr. Tucker was amazed. Every detail checked out. They went to Charleston, secretly spoke with neighbors and former co-workers. They verified 24 specific details. Ethan knew 22 correctly. The other 2 couldn't be verified due to lack of witnesses. Then they proposed the most radical test. DNA. Maybe genetic memory, said one researcher. Maybe Ethan is a distant relative. Tests were conducted. Result, there was no genetic connection between Ethan Parker and Michael Sullivan. Different families, different family trees. The final tests were harder. They showed 20 photographs. 19 were random men from the 2010s. One was Michael. Ethan selected Michael's photo without hesitation. This is me. This was me. They made a special request to Sarah. They asked her to secretly change things in the Charleston house. She moved furniture, painted walls, put items in different places. When Ethan entered the house, he noticed immediately. The couch wasn't here. This wall was white, not green. Where's Grandma Catherine's photo? He got every change right. In 2020, Dr. Tucker and his team completed their report. A 100-page document. Every detail, every test, every witness statement. The conclusion read, the Ethan Parker case is one of the strongest scientific evidence supporting the reincarnation hypothesis. Of 42 verifiable details, 38 were completely correct, 4 were partially correct. Accuracy rate, 86%. No genetic connection. The families had never met before. The child's access to this information was impossible. In his personal notes, Dr. Tucker wrote, I've been studying reincarnation cases for 40 years. In Europe, the Middle East, and India, I've seen hundreds of cases. But the Ethan Parker case is the clearest, most documented case I've seen in North America. This child truly knows things he couldn't possibly know. The report was ready, but it would not be published. By mutual decision of the families, it was locked in the University of Virginia archives. Sealed envelope. Opening date, 2075. By then, Ethan, Sarah, Daniel, James, all would have passed away. Only a narrow academic circle knew about this case. It was discussed in closed sessions at conferences, but it never leaked to any media outlet. The family's identity was protected. Ethan continued his normal life. In the spring of 2021, Dr. Tucker conducted a final interview with Ethan. Ethan, do you remember? What happened after you died? Ethan took a deep breath. He was 7 years old, but his speech was very mature. I remember. When the scaffolding collapsed, I fell. It was so fast. Then, silence. There was no pain, just lightness. I saw my body. It was lying on the ground. People were rushing around me. James was crying. I tried to call out to him, but no sound came out. He couldn't hear me. Then I saw a light, warm, peaceful, and 3 figures appeared. They were wearing white robes, but not robes. Light, they smiled at me. Dr. Tucker asked, what did they say? Ethan continued, they said, Michael, your time is up, but your work isn't finished yet. Then they showed me my life. Like a movie. Every moment. Meeting Sarah, our marriage, Daniel's birth, everything. And they saw something, the pain inside James. He was blaming himself. He was thinking, I could have saved Michael. That pain was so deep, so dark. The beings of light said, the choice is yours. You can move forward or you can go back. You can help James, but if you go back, it will be hard. Remembering everything will cause pain. Ethan stopped. His eyes filled with tears. I chose to go back. I loved James. I couldn't leave him with that pain. Dr. Tucker asked, then what happened? Ethan smiled. They took me to a garden of light. It was a beautiful place. Flowers, trees, music. There were other souls there, waiting, those who would return. Someone told me, when you go back you'll forget. Most people forget, but you need to remember, so the memory will come with you. Then I felt a pull, downward, into a warm, dark place, into Rebecca's womb. I was becoming a baby, and my memory came with me. Michael's memory, all of it was there. Dr. Tucker's eyes welled up. And now? Are the memories fading? Ethan nodded. Yes. Slowly fading. I'm not Michael anymore. I'm becoming Ethan. Sometimes a food smell comes, like Sarah's shrimp and grits, and for a moment, everything comes back. The kitchen in Charleston, the morning sun, Sarah's laugh. But then suddenly it disappears. Like a dream. But I completed my mission. James is at peace. Sarah is at peace. Now I can let them go. But I won't forget, Ethan said. I'll never forget. That love is stronger than death, and that every soul has a purpose. Ethan's life gradually normalized. In 2022, when he turned 8, he started elementary school. His friends had no idea about his secret. To them, Ethan was just a quiet, thoughtful kid. But the families continued to meet regularly. Once a month, Daniel would come from Charleston to Boston. The two boys were like brothers now. Daniel was preparing for college, and Ethan felt a strange pride when he looked at him. My son has grown up, he'd think, but he didn't say it out loud anymore. Sarah occasionally came to Boston. She'd go for walks in the park with Ethan. One day, Sarah asked, Ethan, do you still remember Michael? Ethan stopped, thought. Yes, but it's different now. Like I watched a movie. It's my story, but also someone else's life. James changed the most. The guilt he'd carried for 6 years was gone. He was happier, lighter. He'd expanded his hardware store. He'd embraced life again. Catherine Sullivan passed away peacefully in 2023 at 87 years old. Her last words were, I saw my son again, now I can go in peace. At her funeral, Ethan cried, but his tears weren't from sadness, they were from gratitude. In 2024, when Ethan turned 10, he'd lost most of Michael's memories. Sometimes he saw Charleston in his dreams, but when he woke up in the morning, the details were blurred. This was his choice. I want to be Ethan now, he'd said. And so it was. In 2025, Ethan is 11 years old. He's in 6th grade. He plays basketball, plays video games with his friends, a normal kid, but sometimes he stops and thinks. In his dreams, he's still a man, working construction, hugging Sarah, holding Daniel in his arms. Then he wakes up and can't tell if these are memories or imagination. Daniel is now 18, studying engineering in college. He keeps calling Ethan, my little brother, he says. They both know what the real relationship is, but they don't tell anyone. Sarah is still in Charleston, 39 years old. She hasn't remarried. My heart still belongs to Michael, she says. But she's at peace now. She knows her husband came back, said goodbye to her, forgave himself. James is 50, happy. He got married last year. He's moving on with his life. But every year he visits Michael's grave and places Ethan's photo next to it. My two brothers, he whispers. The sealed envelope at the University of Virginia is still there. It won't be opened until 2075. In 50 years, the world will learn this case. But until then, it will remain a secret known only to a few. Ethan's last words to Dr. Tucker. Maybe others have returned too. Maybe there are people walking around us every day who remember their past lives, but they don't talk because no one would believe them. Today, there's an ordinary house in Boston's South End neighborhood. Inside live Rebecca, David, and an 11-year-old boy. No one knows their secret. In Charleston, on King Street, there's a house with a blue door. Inside lives a 39-year-old woman. On the gazebo ceiling in the backyard, there's still a heart, MS Hearts, SS. In an old cemetery, under an oak tree, there's a simple headstone. Michael Sullivan, 1982-2012. Love is eternal. No visitors come. Tourists don't know. Only his family knows. And in the archives of the University of Virginia, inside a locked cabinet, a sealed file waits. Impossible, but true. No one will read it until 2075. But you watch it. And now you know, love is stronger than death. Souls can return. And sometimes, very rarely, the past and present come together. Ethan Parker's case ends here. But maybe there's such a case in your life too. Maybe someone you know, maybe yourself. You'll never know.